Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
The world of professional wrestling is filled with feuds and hatred. Steve Austin hated his boss, Mr. McMahon. Jinder Mahal hates America. The NWO hated WCW. Vince Russo hates Logic. But sometimes those feuds can spill into real life, causing friction and issues backstage, like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart's infamous backstage rivalry during their time on top in WWF, and Scott Steiner reportedly threatening to kill Hulk Hogan, getting himself banned from WWE's Hall of Fame in the process. I am Luke Owen, and in this video we're going to explore some of the other real-life heat and hate between wrestlers. Here are 4 wrestlers who hated each other in real life. Volume 1. Sin Cara, the original one that is, came to WWE with a lot of hype behind him in 2011. After all, this was the famous Mystico, one of the most popular stars in Mexican wrestling. Fellow Mexican star Alberto Del Rio also had a lot of fanfare when he arrived in WWE the year previous, but the two had legitimate hatred for each other outside of the ring. In 2012, Conan revealed on MLW Radio that the heat between them in Mexico was so visceral, Mystico once pulled a gun on Alberto. Del Rio said in his U-shoot that one of Mystico's posse was actually the one that pulled the gun, and the two buried their hatchet in WWE. He apologized. He was like, "That happened, and I'm sorry. I was a little bit tipsy." Later on in their career, Del Rio got into an in-ring altercation with Sin Cara during a match they had on the August 19th edition of Monday Night Raw. The very first move of the match saw Del Rio kick Sin Cara, and he dislocated his finger. Cara then did a suicide dive, which made the injury worse, and he asked for the referee to stop the match. Del Rio was visibly mad about this and started hitting Sin Cara for real. There was super heat. I cannot express how much heat there is on Sin Cara because of the feeling that with dislocated fingers, you don't quit. I got mad because he broke his finger doing a dive and he told the ref to stop the match. And I was like, Vince isn't here and you lazy bastard, stop the match because you broke one of your fingers. I got really mad. I threw him into the ring and kicked him for real. During John Morrison's near 10-year stint in WWE, he only had one WrestleMania match of any significant note. WrestleMania 27, where Morrison teamed with the retired Trish Stratus and Jersey Shore star Snooki to take on Dolph Ziggler and the team of Lay Cool. The match was centered around Trish and Snooki, which made sense as Jersey Shore was a huge cultural TV show at the time, and Trish was a coach on that season of WWE's Tough Enough. However, Morrison didn't feel that was fair. Morrison was upset because he felt his real-life girlfriend Melina should have been in the match along with Kelly, who was then replaced with Snooki. The original plan for that year's Mania was a multi-woman match featuring all of the regular performers, but due to time constraints it was cut, and the trios match only featured 2 active women on the roster, Michelle McCool and Layla. Morrison reportedly wouldn't work with Stratus backstage and shot down everything she suggested. When they were laying out the match, Stratus was pushing hard to get her spots in, and there was resentment that she was trying to be the star of the match. The real key to the match was right at the end. In what has since been called the cold shoulder moment, Morrison shunned Trish and Snooki as a sign of solidarity with Melina. I just said to him, hey, your career is made up of moments. So now you've taken a moment from the fans, really. Because they don't care about backstage politics. They don't care if you think your girlfriend should be in that spot or whatever it was. So he just denied the fans and himself, and that's that. The Twitter beef between Conan and Curtis Axel dates back to 2013, when Axel was a part of the forgettable tag team Rybaxel following a failed singles push. In a series of tweets, Conan explained that he would remove Axel from TV if he was in charge of WWE, calling him boring, with no charisma, and the personification of Wonder Bread. Axel, the son of Mr. Perfect and grandson of Larry the Axe Hennig, didn't respond at first, but eventually fired back with, "Well, what do you know? Looks like Conan is trying to gain social media popularity by talking about a real superstar." Conan replied with, "Don't give a f*** about social media popularity. I don't know you and have nothing against you, dude. You just have zero charisma. Their Twitter war resurfaced in 2015 when Axel started his Hulk Hogan parody gimmick with Damien Sandow's Macho Man. Settle yourself in, folks. This is a lot of Twitter back and forth, which kicked off with a fan saying, "Curtis Axel, you put me to sleep. Conan was right about you. Hashtag no charisma." I was. Haha. Marks. Coming from a guy dressing like Hulk and still can't get over, hashtag brother. Haha, not even gonna bother. I have a wife, kids, and a happy life. I'm having fun and things will work out. Hashtag Mark. Good, get yours while you can. Much respect for Kurt and Larry. Thanks, but no thanks. I'll be getting mine. Don't talk of my family like you're a friend. Follow me and we can squash. Like I said, I respect them, not you, J-Brone. Keep talking. Someday you will say something intelligent. Hashtag whack as fuck. Hashtag Jojo Starbucks. I always listen to someone's criticisms, but not if they were a blown up, fatty, lazy worker. Some washed up dude my dad hated putting over. I won't put over either. Hashtag Mark. In a day and age where every wrestler has a podcast that details backstage shenanigans and anyone else has an autobiography, it's important to remember the significance of Mick Foley's first book, Have a Nice Day, released in 1999. It was the first book that took many young fans behind the curtains, which was a revelation to those not au fait with Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer. But that book also kickstarted a long-running real-life feud between Foley and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. When talking about his time in WCW as Cactus Jack, Foley wrote, "Ric Flair was every bit as bad on the booking side of things as he was great on the wrestling side of it." From all accounts, Flair wasn't too bothered by the comments at the time, but in his 2004 autobiography, To Be the Man, he certainly fired back. Foley has a cult following because of his contributions to hardcore wrestling, but hardcore is such a small part of the history of the business. When I was training, falling off a ladder was not a prerequisite to making it as a professional wrestler. Being fundamentally sound was. I don't care how many thumbtacks Mick Foley has fallen on, how many ladders he's fallen off, how many continents he's supposedly bled on. He'll always be known as a glorified stuntman. He went on to compare Foley to Brutus the Barber Beefcake and the Ultimate Warrior, two wrestlers not known for their in-ring prowess, and noted that the likes of Foley and the Sandman aren't real wrestlers. At a Ring of Honor show in October 2004, Foley began a feud with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat about the merits of traditional wrestling versus hardcore wrestling, where he decided to use his mic time to shoot on Flair's comments. "I'm no Ric Flair because I've never carried Batista's bags. I'm no Ric Flair because every once in a while I actually say something different. I'm no Ric Flair because I actually put my body on the line. I don't do stupid things. I am no Ric Flair, and thank God for that." This led to an infamous moment backstage at a Raw taping in December 2004, where Foley walked up to Flair with a copy of his book and asked Rick to sign it. When Rick offered a handshake, Foley refused, so Rick got up and got physical. I wanted to embarrass Rick in front of the boys, so I walked up to him with a copy of the book and asked him to sign it for me. I had envisioned a lot of scenarios, but I didn't picture one where Rick got up and punched me. The two had to be pulled apart, with Flair challenging Foley to walk down to the ring and wrestle for real before the show started. Instead, they hashed out their differences in Head of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis' office, where Foley asked Rick to apologize and admit he was a good worker. When Flair refused, Foley asked out of the two of them who drew more money, and Flair conceded. They eventually talked out their differences on a plane ride and had two big feuds from these altercations in WWE in 2005 and TNA in 2010. But what was the real reason for Stone Cold leaving WWE in 2002? And what are some of the WrestleMania matches you'll never see again? Click the videos to the left to find out more. Press subscribe and support WrestleTalk on Patreon. I have been Luke Owen, and that was a list.